ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। Everyone together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, we welcome all of you for joining us for today's evening discussion. And we are on the 14th episode of our this Mahabharata series. And yesterday we began our discussion from Udyog Parva. So Udyog Parva is the 5th canto or the 5th Parva of Mahabharata among the 18 Parvas. And yesterday we saw how after the incognito period for Pandavas got over, then everyone, all the allies of Pandavas came to meet Pandavas at Virat's kingdom. And while being assembled there, they all were discussing what would be the next course of action. And that time, Krishna stood up in the assembly and he said, before we think that we should go on war with Kauravas, we should find out their intentions. So that's the time Krishna said, hey, Drupad Maharaj, please arrange to send your best of the messenger to Hastinapur. Let our messenger deliver the message to Kauravas that they should return back the kingdom that belongs to Pandavas. If don't, then they would have to face Pandavas in war. So with that message, the messenger left for Hastinapur. And in the meantime, both the sides, Pandavas and the Kauravas, they began to contact with their allies so that they can prepare for the war in case if the war had to happen. Pandavas never wanted war, and the Kauravas just could not do anything without a war because they had no other option. They were thinking if Pandavas decide not to have a war and they go back to the forest, only at that point of time, Kauravas would not have war because Kauravas were not willing to give back anything back to Pandavas. So both the sides began to prepare for war, and the huge armies of different kings around the world began to assemble at Virat's kingdom as well as at Hastinapur. While this was going on, both Arjuna and Duryodhana thought of going to Dwarka and approaching Krishna to favor them. And it just so happened both Duryodhana and Arjuna had reached Krishna at the same time. And we discussed this yesterday. And Krishna said, well, because both of you have come to me, I will give two options. Select me without any weapons, I will not fight, or take my complete army, Narayani Sena. And Krishna or Arjuna immediately chose for Krishna. Like this, both of them went back to their respective places. In the meantime, the messenger sent by Pandavas reached to the Hastinapur and he delivered the message. And in response, our Dhritarashtra sent Sanjaya to carry the message of Kauravas to Pandavas. And the mission that Sanjaya had was to convince Pandavas not to ask for their kingdom, give up the desire for the kingdom, be selfless. And for the desires of the Kauravas, they should give up the desire for kingdom and they should go to the forest. Sanjaya came and he said to Pandavas, please do not commit the sin of killing the Kauravas. You're wise and humble. Take the route of piety. Give up self-interest and sacrifice for your cousins. When Yudhishthira Maharaj heard this, he was surprised. Yudhishthira Maharaj said, I never asked for war. I asked for what belongs to me. You should give it back to me. All right. If you cannot give me what belongs to me, I'm willing to forgive you for that. I'm willing to forgive you for what all you have done to us. But at least for me to perform our duty, all the five of us Pandavas to perform our duty as of a Kshatriya, please give us at least 5 villages. And I promise you, we Pandavas will live peacefully with the Kauravas. And the choice is in your hands. You decide, are you willing to give even the 5 villages? Now, 5 villages, was it really too much to demand, too much to ask by the Yudhishthira Maharaj? He was actually one point of time was the king of the world, where he had established in the plus after Rajasuya sacrifice. Now today, Yudhishthira Maharaj, being a great devotee of the Lord, is willing to forgive Kauravas for everything. But because he has to perform his duty, he has to perform his dharma, so he has to have something to rule. And Yudhishthira Maharaj is willing to let Kauravas enjoy everything. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, with all humility, says, okay, I don't want to have a war. Let's forget it. We are willing to live peacefully. At least give 5 villages. So the question comes, will Dhritarashtra agree now? Is Dhritarashtra going to at least give 5 villages? And what is the value of 5 villages in comparison to the rule of Kauravas on the whole world? What is Dhritarashtra's real intention? What Kauravas want? They want peace without war, but they don't want to give anything to Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas. They want them to go to the forest and live in the forest for the rest of their life and suffer. Or they actually want a war and they want the destruction of their dynasty. What happens and how Dhritarashtra responds is a discussion for today's subject. So Sanjay, after conveying the message to the Pandavas, came back to Hastinapur. And when Dhritarashtra heard that Sanjay is back, immediately Dhritarashtra called for Sanjaya, and Sanjaya went to the palace and the inner chambers of Dhritarashtra. It was late in the evening, and Dhritarashtra was sitting alone there, and he very eagerly was waiting for Sanjaya. Sanjaya entered, and Dhritarashtra asked, Sanjaya, what happened? Could you convey my message to them? Dhritarashtra was hoping that Sanjaya would have convinced Yudhishthira Maharaj to give up the desire to war or to give up the desire for his kingdom. Yudhishthira Maharaj, being a dharmic person, maybe he might prefer to take the path of peace and go to the forest. So what message did Sanjaya brought? Sanjaya looked at Dhritarashtra and he said, O king, I blame you for the present situation. You acted sinfully. In other words, Sanjaya began to chastise Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra was shocked. Arey, mera aadmi mere pe cheek raha hai. What happened to Sanjaya? If you do not reverse your decisions, you will be responsible for the annihilation of innumerable men. Influenced by your foolish son, you think your success is sure. Thus, you did not prevent the dice game. Now look at the result of such madness. O king, because you are weak-hearted, you will soon lose everything. Because Dhritarashtra had won everything through sinful means, through cheating, that's the reason Dhritarashtra could never ever live peacefully. 20 years have passed since Dhritarashtra had been the ruler of the whole world. 20 years ago, he got the rule under his hand after the death of Pandu. But still, Dhritarashtra is not peaceful because he's always worried. When would Yudhishthira Maharaj will come and ask for his kingdom? And Dhritarashtra said to Sanjaya, Sanjaya, I sent you to convince Pandavas, and you are convincing me. What are you talking about? And Sanjaya said, Dhritarashtra, this is late. When I come tomorrow morning in the assembly, I will deliver the message what Yudhishthira Maharaj gave. And Dhritarashtra was so restless, he could not sleep all night because he wanted to know, did Yudhishthira Maharaj agree to the peace proposal? Without demanding for the kingdom, is Yudhishthira Maharaj willing to go to the forest so that Dhritarashtra and his sons can live without the fear of death at the hands of the Pandavas? So next day, there was a big assembly. Everyone was assembled. Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, on all the Kauravas headed by Duryodhan, along with his dear friend Karna and his mama Shishupal. Everyone is waiting. And at that point of time, Sanjay walked into the palace. And everyone is looking at Sanjay. What message Yudhishthira Maharaj have given? And Dhritarashtra could not sleep whole night because he wanted to hear. And then Sanjay spoke. He said, I will repeat the message of Yudhishthira Maharaj as it is. And Yudhishthira Maharaj said, either the Kurus should return the Pandavas' kingdom or even give us just 5 villages, or there would be a war. When Dhritarashtra heard this, he began to tremble. Because Dhritarashtra was thinking Yudhishthira Maharaj might accept his peace proposal. And now Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying, if you can't give the kingdom, give me 5 villages. And Dhritarashtra had no intentions to give Yudhishthira Maharaj even a single village. Why Dhritarashtra was so afraid? Because Dhritarashtra knew that Yudhishthira Maharaj is a pious, is a great devotee of the Lord Shri Krishna. If I give him even a single village, soon his influence will spread all over the world, and again he becomes the king of the whole world. So Dhritarashtra was very scared. So he wanted Pandavas to not have anything with them. Seeing that situation, Bhishma stood up and he began to counsel Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra, oh you old man, why don't you hear to what Sanjay is saying? You should give it back. And Dhritarashtra, with his head low down, is just pretending to listen. And when Bhishma got tired speaking to Dhritarashtra, then he turned to Duryodhan. And he told to Duryodhan, oh my dear grandson, let me tell you a secret. Very, very important secret. You don't know who Krishna and Arjuna are. Let me tell you an ancient history that was narrated to me by none other than Narada Muni. And Duryodhan said, yes, my dear great grandfather. What did Narada Muni said? And then Bhishma said, hey Duryodhan, this Arjuna and Krishna are no ordinary living beings. They are eternal living beings. In fact, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Arjuna and Krishna in their previous time, previous life, when they had appeared in the form of Narayan Rishi. And they had appeared on the request of the Devatas to kill the demons. And every age, they appear again to destroy the demons. And the same Narayan Rishi in the form of Arjuna and Krishna are present here today. You are inviting death. Not only your death, but the death of everyone. However, Duryodhan was hardly bothered because of all this. Rather, becoming scared, Duryodhan was smiling. And Bhishma Pitama was getting upset. I am trying to warn him and Duryodhan is smiling. And why Duryodhan was smiling? He was thinking, oh my dear old grandfather, you don't know. Danavas have promised me that they will come to my side and fight for my side with the Pandavas army. And in fact, Danavas will spoil your mind also. And you, Kripacharya, Dronacharya, are all going to fight from my side. Similarly, at that point of time, when our Duryodhan sat down after speaking like this, then Drona got up. Dronacharya tried convincing Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, then Vidura. Everyone tried convincing Dhritarashtra to at least give 5 villages to Pandavas, but Dhritarashtra would not agree. What will he do? He will put his head down and he would cry. And he will say, मैं क्या करूं? मैं एक अबला बाप हूं जो अपने बेटे से बहुत प्रेम करता हूं. मैं इस मोह माया में फंसा हुआ हूं. मैं आंखों से ही अंधा नहीं हूं. मैं क्या करूं? मैं बुद्धि का भी अंधा हूं. I cannot go against the desire of my son. I am helpless. And then Dhritarashtra would cry in the whole assembly. And like that, Dhritarashtra never ever promised anything or never gave a response to the Sanjay's statement. Although Dhritarashtra was a king, he could clearly understand what would happen if they had to fight the Pandavas. But still, he would not save the situation. Was it really difficult for Dhritarashtra to change the situation? He was a king. He could have given the order. And the prince Duryodhan could do nothing against the order of the king. But yet, Dhritarashtra would not speak anything against Duryodhan and would not dare to fulfill the desire of Pandavas. And he said nothing about giving back Yudhishthira's kingdom. His desire for peace, his means Dhritarashtra's desire for peace, was an empty hope born of fear. He would not pay the price to bring peace. And thus, war was certain. And who was responsible for the war? Not Pandavas, not Krishna. It was Dhritarashtra. So when Duryodhana saw his father crying, he became worried and he thought, Aisa na ho, my father changes his mind and he speaks something in favor of Yudhishthira. So Duryodhana got up and he roared and he said, I can sacrifice my life, my wealth, my kingdom, my everything, O king, but I can never live in peace with the Pandavas. I will not surrender to them even as much land as can be pierced by the point of a needle. I hope it is very clear to all of you. It was Dhritarashtra, it was Duryodhan who wanted to go on war because they were not willing to comply with any of the requests of the Yudhishthira Maharaj. And this is what is called as envy, dvesh, जिसको हिंदी में कहा जाता है. And this envy makes a person so crazy, just like Duryodhan. He is the king of the whole, I mean, of course, he's not the king, he's a prince, but he's a future king of the whole world. And he is so scared and so disturbed by the Pandavas' presence. For him, he cannot live on the earth peacefully. For him, the whole earth is a small place if Pandavas are also living on the earth. For Duryodhan, his happiness could only begin when Pandavas are dead, because he just could not tolerate Pandavas surviving anywhere, because he was so insecure of Pandavas, because he always knew that he is weaker than Pandavas. And because of this envy, imagine, Duryodhan was not in the forest. He didn't go for exile. Duryodhan was living in the palace, yet he could never ever be happy. And at that point of time, Karna got up and Karna began to speak in favor of Duryodhan and he began to boast about himself. He said, Duryodhan, you don't have to worry about anything. You have a friend like Karna who could single-handedly defeat all the 5 Pandavas. Do not doubt on my strength. And I promise you, I alone will kill all the Pandavas. And when Duryodhan heard like this, Duryodhan became very happy. But Bhishma could not tolerate this behavior of Karna. And then Bhishma got up. And Bhishma said, what are you talking, Karna? You are going to fight against Pandavas. You're going to fight against Arjuna. Did you forget? In front of your eyes, Arjuna had killed your brother. Where was your valor? Why didn't you save your brother that other time? You were defeated by the Gandharvas, and Duryodhan was defeated by Gandharvas. Could Karna protect the Duryodhan from the hands of Gandharva? Duryodhan, you were defeated. Not only defeated, you were arrested by Gandharvas. Did Karna came to rescue you or Arjuna? And hey Karna, you were defeated by Arjuna at the Matsya war. And Duryodhan, you were also defeated. Could Karna come and save you? In other words, Bhishma Pitama reminded Duryodhan of all the previous times when Karna failed to save Duryodhan and himself. And Bhishma Pitama said, and this foolish, arrogant Karna, he thinks he will be able to fight against Arjuna. It is just a pure imagination and hallucination. He is a foolish person. And when Karna heard this, he roared with an anger. He became extremely angry. And he said, oh, Bhishma Pitama, why do you always insult me? Why do you doubt my valor? You have never seen me fight. You don't know anything about my valor, and yet you insult me. Enough is enough. And this is a very important section. That's the reason I'm talking about it. which has a direct connection with the war. And then Karna took a vow. At this point of time, Karna took a vow and he said, I take a vow. I will not engage in battle as long as Bhishma, you are present on the battle. Which means Duryodhan was counting on Karna to win the battle. And Karna takes a vow that as long as Bhishma is alive in the battle, Karna will not even come in the battle. And Duryodhana was shocked. He said, what is this Karna talking about it? I was counting on him all this while, and now he takes a vow. As long as Bhishma is alive, the point is Bhishma cannot be killed. Nobody can kill Bhishma. At that point of time, Karna said, rather, I will lay down my weapons until you are dead, O Bhishma, and then the world will see my prowess. Which means I will only enter the battle or war of Kurukshetra when Bhishma is slain. Everyone was shocked. And Duryodhana was terrified this time. He said, oh, my dear friend, I was counting on you. What vow did you take? And Karna, without paying any attention to anyone, he walked away from the assembly. And then Bhishma got up. And Bhishma said, do you see this foolish Karna? He again began to chastise Karna. He said, this Karna, look what vow he has taken. And Duryodhana, you think he will fight for you? Look at his anger. And something interesting, isn't it? People glorify Karna for being a great friend of Duryodhana. However, the same Karna took a vow not to enter the war as long as Bhishma Pitama is living. So Karna was really fighting for his friend Duryodhana, or Karna had his own agenda. And the point is, the reality is, Karna was not fighting on behalf of Duryodhana. Karna had his own agenda, and his agenda was to prove to the world that he is a far better warrior than Arjuna. He is a far better bowman than Arjuna. And that was his whole ambition. His desire was not to help his friend Duryodhana. That was never the case. And in his anger, Karna got so angry and he took such a vow and walked away. And that is how the whole character about Karna. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna talks about three things. And one of the things is anger that we just saw. And Krishna says we should give up three things. If we don't give up these three things, it will lead to our destruction. And one of those things is anger. You see how in anger, Karna kind of, spoiled the whole mood of the Duryodhana and the whole thing. Because of Karna's decision, the whole game of the battlefield of Kurukshetra changed. And Krishna says that all of us, every one of us who wants to be happy in this world, have to give up three things. And what are those three things? Which means if you want to be happy, I would say this way, I would paraphrase. If we want to be happy in this world, we should not get engaged in three activities. And what are those three activities? Trividham naraka sedam dvaram nashanamaatmanah kama krodhas tatha lobhas tasmadetattrayam tayajat. ये भगवद गीता का 16वां अध्याय का 21वां श्लोक है. And here Krishna says, Lord Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, there are three gates leading to hell, which means leading to suffering. What are the three gates? One is of lust, anger, and greed. Every intelligent person or an intelligent child or a kid should give this up, or they lead to the degradation of the soul. What does lust mean? Lust means unending desires. Desire to enjoy unlimitedly. Just like Duryodhana, he wanted to enjoy unlimitedly and he didn't want to share anything with the Pandavas. And that's what happened. And because of his unlimited desires, he ended up bringing about his own destruction. And when the desires are not fulfilled, what is the next stage? Then anger comes. Then a person becomes very angry. Just like Karna, because Karna always wanted to be appreciated, wanted to be always acknowledged for his valor, for his courage, for his skill. But Bhishma Pitama never recognized him. And because Bhishma Pitama never recognized, and rather he insulted Karna, so his desire of getting acknowledged never happened. So Karna became angry. And when you become angry, you lose your intelligence. And once a person becomes angry, then he also becomes greedy. I want more. Ye dil mange more kind of thing. And Krishna says we should give up these three things. Desires to unlimited enjoy, anger, and greed. What it means and what can be learned from the life of Arjuna, from the life of Duryodhana and Karna, I will speak in a short while. Let's watch a movie. I'll play a short video for all of you today. And let's enjoy the video in a quick session here. Let me just pull out the video and share the screen with all of you. Give me a quick second. Let me share the screen. Oops. Okay, all of you can see the screen now? The video is visible? Hopefully. Okay, I will enable the chat also, so you all can type back and let me know in the chat. The chat is enabled, and I will share the computer sound. You can type in and let me know if nothing is okay here, okay? Let's watch it, and please watch it carefully. After the video ends, I will give you a minute or two to share your lesson. What did you learn from this video? I mean, it would be a little difficult, but let's try. Let's try if you can figure out, okay? So all of you are able to see the video? Screen is visible? Okay, great. Sound?
Shiny iPhone 5. New shiny iPhone 5. New shiny iPhone 5.
A new iPhone 6.
iPhone 6.
Get yours
New
today.
iPhone 6.
A new iPhone 10. A new iPhone. And buy today.
New iPhone 16. New iPhone 14. New iPhone 15. New iPhone 16.
Buy it today.
Yay!
New iPhone 17.
Buy it now.
New iPhone 18.
Buy it today.
New iPhone 19.
Buy it.
iPhone 20. 21. iPhone 23.
So here the video ends. And here, give me a quick second. Yes. So you just saw the video where you saw a young man purchasing a new iPhone. And by the time he goes to his home and then a new iPhone is released, and he tries to purchase a new iPhone. And like that, every other week, the new iPhone keeps coming and he keeps desiring for another iPhone, another iPhone, another iPhone. Like there is a saying goes in Hindi, ye dil mange more. And he gets caught up into that thing. And you saw how at the end of the day, he was so unhappy. He was so distressed. So what is the lesson? What did you learn from this? Anyone? Well, what's the message you got it from this? Okay, let's take a look at your message. Don't be greedy because he was greedy. Yes, okay, phone is a distractor. And that's the whole point that Lord Shri Krishna is speaking. Is the presentation visible to all of you now? Can you raise your thumb if the presentation is visible? Okay, and that's the point Krishna is making here. And that's the reason your Duryodhan, Karna, they were just never ever happy. And so was Dhritarashtra. Let us a little bit investigate these three qualities of lust, anger, and greed. If I ask you, lust, can you think of any historical person whose name comes to your mind who represented this quality of lust or unlimited desires? Anyone from the so many stories we have discussed? Any example that comes? Yes, Ravana, correct. And that's the person here. Regardless of how powerful he became, how much he had, but he was never ever satisfied. And that's the reason he was such a lusty fellow, which means he had so much material desires. At the end of the day, he became so foolish that he ended up trying to kidnap Mother Sita. And that's what happens. And similarly, you see Ravana was never ever happy because of his unlimited desires. So that's for lust. We have a classic example of Ravan. What about anger? Any example comes to your mind who represented, the quality of anger? Yes, Kamsa is also correct. Mahisa sir, okay. Durvasa Muni, okay. So anger, yes, Durvasa Muni is also can be said a good example. Who is this? There is a Krishna killing somebody. Any idea who this person is? Yes, Dantavakra. Shishupal, his friend, had been just killed because Shishupal was so envious of the Lord. He blasphemed the Lord and he died. And Dantavakra, when he saw his friend killed, Dantavakra, he ran towards Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna said, hey, Dantavakra, you're so angry that you even forgot to bring your weapon to fight with me. And then Dantavakra realized, oh, where are my weapons? I'm going to fight with Krishna. In the meantime, he was killed. And that's what happened with anger. Just like Karna, he became crazy and he took a vow. Similarly, in anger, person loses his intelligence. And now come to the last quality, lust, anger, and greed. Who represents greed? What's your thought for greed? Any personality? Yeah, Dantavakra is done. Duryodhan, okay, yes. Yes, Duryodhan. What else? Anyone from the previous cases that we have discussed? Greed. And another classic example for greed is, do you remember this? We had discussed on the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev, the story of Prahlad Maharaj and his father Hiranyakashipu. He was like he wanted so much control, although he had the control of the whole material nature. Now he wanted his son also to worship him. And when son said, no, I'm not going to worship you, I'm going to worship the Supreme Lord Narayan, that this Hiranyakashipu became so envious of his own son that he wanted to kill his son. And then Lord Nrsimhadev appeared to protect dear Prahlad Maharaj. So this is what the characters of Duryodhan and Karna also represents, if you see. lust, anger, and greed. Because of these three qualities, they lost everything and they became the cause of the destruction of the whole dynasty. Let's take an example of a Duryodhan for a second. What Duryodhan wanted, what was his core desire? Duryodhan wanted to be the undisputed king of the world, but Pandavas were threat to the fulfillment of this desire. Duryodhan was always scared of the Pandavas. He thought if Pandavas had to rule, they would become more famous than I, and that's the reason he always felt threatened to the fulfillment of his desire to be the undisputed king. For Duryodhan, a huge kingdom was also not sufficient, so much so that he was not willing to give 5 villages to Pandavas. And that is what happened when a person is being carried away or ruled by the qualities of lust, anger, and greed. Take a case of Karna. What Karna wanted? Karna wanted to be the best archer. And because of that, he was so envious of Arjuna. And because of this feeling of comparison, this feeling of envy, this feeling of anger and greed that the Kauravas had, particularly with Duryodhan, Dhritarashtra, Karna, and Shishupal, because of their actions and their behaviors, they brought about a destruction to the whole dynasty of the Kauravas and to the world. In conclusion, what do we learn from this? We learn that we should try not to get involved into these three qualities. We should not become victim to the three things: lust, anger, and greed. What we should do? We should learn to live with God's given gifts. It is not that Karna and Duryodhan were not qualified or skilled. They were very qualified. They were highly skilled, but they were not happy with what they had. They wanted more. They wanted to prove themselves to be the best. That was their problem. In fact, if you see Duryodhan was the best in mace fighting. And that's the reason Balramji loved Duryodhan, because nobody could defeat Duryodhan. Even Duryodhan was great in something, yet that greatness could not satisfy Duryodhan. Because of the envy, the third point, because of the envy of Duryodhan and Karna for Pandavas, their good qualities and their skills all got eclipsed because of their bad qualities. If they would have cooperated with the Pandavas, then today we would have remembered Kauravas, particularly Duryodhan, Karna, for their qualities and not for their mistakes. And that's the reason all of us should be careful of these three enemies in everyone's life: the lust, anger, and greed. And whenever these things you remember, always remember the character of Duryodhan and Karna. And like this, Karna walked away, and at that point of time, Dhritarashtra communicated to the messenger, which went back to the Virat's kingdom. And the message was that we will not be giving you any land or any wealth. If you want to fight, fight with us, and nothing will be returned. And now Pandavas were shocked. And now they knew that they have no other alternative than to fight with the Kauravas. And now all the Pandavas, together with Krishna, began to think about the next course of action. Yet Krishna said to Yudhishthira Maharaj, to Bhima and Arjuna, Nakul and Sahadev, let us give one more try. And Bhima was like, no more second try. We have waited for so long. Is it time to attack? But Krishna said, no. Let me go this time as a messenger, as a peace messenger. Let me personally go and talk to Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, and Karna, and let me ask on your behalf 5 villages for you. And let's see if the Kauravas agree or not. What happened then, we'll see tomorrow. But look at the greatness of Lord Shri Krishna, that he was willing to become a messenger, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was willing to become a messenger for his devotees. And that is the beauty of a relationship between the Lord and his devotees. What happened when Krishna went to Hastinapur? How did Yudhishthira, how did Dhritarashtra, and how did Duryodhana receive Krishna? Did they listen to Krishna? Did they agree? Well, they did not agree. That's the reason what happened. So what did Krishna do? And what happened, we'll discuss tomorrow. where Krishna will be offended and insulted by Duryodhana. So much so that Krishna tomorrow would show his Virat Rupa. In other words, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Karna, everyone knew Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet they were so crazy, or they were so foolish in one sense. They were still thinking that they will win the war. They will be able to defeat Arjuna. They'll be able to defeat Krishna and the Pandavas. And because of this foolishness, the Kauravas lost everything. And what happens, we'll see that tomorrow. So with that, I pause here for today. Thank you all for joining. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And I'll open the forum for any questions and answers. If you have for today's discussion, you can raise your hand. And okay, I see Utkarsh. Go ahead, Utkarsh Prabhu. Utkarsh, you can unmute yourself and speak up. Okay, till the time he comes back. Adi Lakshmi Prabhu, you have something? You raise your hand. Yes.
I have a question. Why did Krishna let let the Duryodhana and others in the court let them go when they came to attack him? When Duryodhana tried to attack him as a messenger.
Yeah, that's the question for tomorrow's session. Why? What if I address it tomorrow? Let me give tomorrow's session, then we'll address it. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. I liked your class very much.
Thank you, Adi Lakshmi Prabhu. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, who else? We see Rajpriya. Rajpriya, go ahead.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, my question is that why Shakuni want to kill the Pandavas?
Well, actually, Shakuni didn't want to kill the Pandavas. Shakuni wanted to kill the whole Kauravas. He was equally envious of Dhritarashtra. He was equally envious of Duryodhana and every one of the Kauravas race. Somebody had asked me yesterday, Raghav Prabhu had asked, I believe, why Pandavas are called as Pandavas? They are also Kauravas. Pandavas were called as Pandavas just because Dhritarashtra never considered them to be belonging to the Kuru race because of his envy. So Pandavas and Kauravas were all Kauravas. And Shakuni hated the whole Kauravas race. The question is, why Shakuni hated everyone? Because Shakuni felt that his sister, who's Shakuni's sister, Rajpriya?
Gandhari.
Yes, Shakuni was very upset when Bhishma Pitama came to Gandhar with a proposal for the marriage. Shakuni thought that his sister Gandhari is going to get married to Pandu, but rather the proposal for her marriage was for Dhritarashtra. And because of that, Gandhari decided to blindfold herself the rest of the life. So Shakuni thought, my sister's life had been destroyed, all these Kauravas, and I will be the cause of the destruction of the Kauravas. So he hated everyone actually, not only Pandavas.
Okay. Thank you.
Abhay Charan.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, my question is that you want to do the fighting every time, Prabhuji.
I could only hear Prabhuji.
How much fight you want?
Say that again, Abhay Charan. I could not hear.
Prabhuji, you are not audible.
Yeah, you're audible now. Go ahead.
My question is, Duryodhana want to do so fight na Prabhuji. He loves fighting Prabhuji.
He loves fighting. Okay.
Duryodhana.
Duryodhana loves fighting. Okay.
Means that only Balramji loves Duryodhana Prabhuji.
Abhay Charan, I guess there's a little signal issue at your ends. I'll come back to you again. If you want, you can type in your message. Your voice is getting trimmed. Okay. I'll come back to you. I see Paki's hand up. Yes, Paki. You can unmute yourself, Paki. Okay. Ritvik, go ahead.
Prabhuji,
Okay, let's do Paki again.
Enable the chat so that I can attend my attendance.
What's that, Paki?
Can you
Oh,
enable the
chat.
chat?
Okay, chat is enabled. By the way, you don't have to write your name for attendance. Vishwakiran will send you a link for that. That's a different.
Okay.
Ritvik, let's go ahead to you.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bhishma knew that Krishna, Arjuna and Krishna were Nara and Narayan, right?
Yes.
So why did he want to fight against them if he already knew that?
Well, Bhishma, at a Rajasuya sacrifice that happened long, long ago at Indraprastha. At that time, Yudhishthira said to Bhishma Pitama, you are the eldest one here. Please select who is the best person to receive the sacrifice or the result of sacrifice. And Bhishma said, there is none other than Krishna. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Bhishma knew that all the while. But because Bhishma had taken a vow to his father, Shantanu, that he would always protect the king. And Dhritarashtra was the king. So because of that vow, because of that commitment, Bhishma Pitama was forced to fight on behalf of the Dhritarashtra. Because he had taken the king. Okay? All right. There's a little signal issue going on here today. Lakshya Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, my question is that yesterday you told that Balramji, he didn't want to fight, he wanted to fight with the Kauravas, but he couldn't because Krishna was on the other side.
Yes.
So why didn't Balramji go and fight with Krishna? Why did he tell to Duryodhana that I'm going for a tir?
Yeah, because Balaramji said, Duryodhana, I can never ever go against Krishna.
Okay,
I can go against anyone and everyone, but not against Krishna. If Krishna has chosen the side of Pandavas, then I cannot take the side of you and fight against Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji.
I had explained this point yesterday. Okay, Lakshya?
But then Prabhuji, he could have gone to the Pandava side and fought, right?
Yeah, but he didn't want to fight to Pandava side also because Duryodhana had come and asked Balramji before Arjuna came.
Okay.
So in those days, whoever would go and ask, as a Kshatriya rule, they were obliged to help the person. So Arjuna was still with Krishna in his palace, and Duryodhana immediately left for Balramji's palace. So when Duryodhana came to Balramji, Balramji said, well, I will not fight on your side of Duryodhana. I will not fight on the side of the Kauravas. And before that, before Arjuna could have reached to Balramji already decided that I'll go for Tirth Yatra. I will not take part in the war. If this would not have happened, if Arjuna would have approached, then potentially Balramji would have fought on the side of Pandavas.
Okay, Prabhuji.
But that interaction never happened because Balramji already left before Arjuna could meet.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare.
Dhruva, you had your hand up? Okay, let's see. We see Sriranga. Go ahead, Srirang.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Srirang.
Prabhuji, Dhritarashtra knew that Kauravas are on the Adharma side, no?
Yes, he knew Krishna is the Supreme Personality, and he knew everyone is going to die in the war. He knew Duryodhana, everyone would be killed.
And so why did he did not give the Pandavas at least 5 villages when he knew all this?
Because Dhritarashtra knew if I give 5 villages to Pandavas, then after some time Pandavas' influence will become so powerful that my position will become lesser. And
So,
Yudhishthira will become the king of the world in some time again. So Dhritarashtra was hoping maybe the destiny may have his own factor, and maybe who knows, I or my son may win the war, because time and destiny are very powerful. So he was thinking, if Pandavas survive, anyways I cannot live. So I have no other option but let the war happen. If my son wins, then I can be peaceful. And if my son die and Pandavas win, anyways it will be the same equation for me if I give them the 5 villages also. So let this conclusion happen for once.
And Prabhuji, if Pandavas had the 5 villages, how they can be powerful?
Just like they got a barren piece of land, Khandavpras, and they turned the barren piece of land, which was a deserted land, into a beautiful kingdom of Indraprasth. And then they performed a Rajriya sacrifice. And then every king from the whole world came and offered their respects to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Similarly, they could have done it with the village also. When they can turn a desert land into a big kingdom, how can they not convert a village into a big kingdom? Is it a big thing?
Yes. So you mean that they can win other kingdoms with doing Raja Surya sacrifice?
Yes. Even they don't need to do it. Everyone would have accepted Yudhishthira Maharaj as a king by default, because Yudhishthira Maharaj was such a dharmic person, religious person. So everyone would have accepted Yudhishthira by default as a king.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Utkarsh.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, you told that there are 3 things like greed, lust, and anger. So,
Yes.
For that, in which of the following was in Mahisasur?
Whichever you like. You can
No,
put that thing to Mahishasur. Mahishasur represented all the 3.
Insulted gods. He
Huh?
insulted gods.
What is the last thing, Utkarsh?
He insulted the gods.
Yeah, so he had all the 3 things: lust, anger, greed. All the demons, that shloka comes from the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and these 3 are the qualities of demoniac people. So it is not that Duryodhana didn't have lust, anger, greed. Duryodhana also had. So when you talk of a demon, they all have all the 3 qualities. Okay?
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So I see hands by Dhruva, Shrivas, Partha, Nandakrishna, Himangi, and Dhruva. So I'm coming one by one to each one of you, okay? So let's see, I see Dhruva first here. Let's go with Dhruva and then come back. Dhruva, go ahead.
Haribol Prabhuji,
Yes.
I had a question that if Krishna did not like adharmic people, then why did he create them?
Oh, Lord did not create them. Very thoughtful question. This is a subject matter that we discussed in the topic, why bad things happen to good people. Vishwakiran Prabhu, if you have the link of that YouTube video, why bad things happen to good people, the first part, the creation of the material world, that's where the address of this particular question of Dhruva is addressed. Why there are good people and bad people in this creation. So that particular question, Dhruva, would be addressed in that video. Otherwise, if you have access to YouTube channel, there you can find this video. Why bad things happen to good people.
Prabhuji, I have subscribed your channel.
So on
I've seen all of them.
Oh, so there is one video, why bad things happen to good people,
Yes.
the part 1. In that, your question is answered. In short, it's a big subject, but in short, jivas are all pure. But by their association, they cultivate good and bad desires. So when they come in the association of the material world, some jivas cultivate sinful desires. And that's the reason you have good and bad people. So it's a subject matter in itself. So that video would address that subject matter nicely. You can hear to that, Dhruva, okay?
Okay, Prabhuji.
And you can write to me. And you can write to me if in case you don't understand anything.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dhruva. Partha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I had a doubt that if Pandava just wanted 5 kingdoms for, 5 villages for ruling, so they could take 5 villages from the Virat kingdom also.
Somebody had asked a similar question yesterday, and I had told the same answer. The Kshatriyas do not like to beg. Kshatriyas will never beg. And here also, Yudhishthira is not begging from Dhritarashtra. I'll tell you, when Duryodhana was kidnapped or arrested by the Gandharva, at that point of time when Arjuna saved Duryodhana from the hands of Gandharva, so Duryodhana said, "Hey Arjuna, because you have saved my life, ask anything you want to ask. Even if you ask me to give you your kingdom back, I'm willing to give your kingdom back right now." So what do you think, Parth? Arjuna should have asked for the kingdom then, right?
Yes.
But Arjuna did not. Arjuna said, "Duryodhana, we are a Kshatriya. We do not beg. What we deserve, we get it by our power and might."
Okay.
That's the reason Arjuna did not ask for the kingdom.
Yes,
That's the
and
reason Yudhishthira Maharaj is not begging from anyone to give the kingdom. He proposed to Dhritarashtra because Dhritarashtra is supposed to give, what belongs to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So he said, if you cannot give me the whole kingdom, it belongs to me. At least give 5 villages to me. So that is not begging. Bharat? So that is
and
a
Prabhuji, I had a question which was
Yeah,
similar
that's a
to that.
Kshatriya lifestyle. Kshatriya will never beg. That's a Kshatriya's rule. So they were not Kshatriyas. Okay? Yes.
And Prabhuji, I also had a question similar to the earlier one. We had seen that Krishna, I mean, when he breathes, then he takes everything inside. And when he exhales, then he again does the creation of the whole world. So he also takes all the bad people and asuras inside. Then he again creates them. Why does he create them only?
They are always existing. What creates is they are given a facility to fulfill those desires. So Parth had been existing in the past, and Parth will exist in the future also. The difference is, in the past, before Parth got this body, Parth had some other body in the previous life. And in the future, when Parth will give up this body, he would have some another body in the future. So the Jivatma, which is there within the Parth, is eternal. And according to his desires, he gets different bodies. So when the creation again happens, all the Jivatmas again are brought back into the creation. And according to their desires, they are given different vehicles, which means different bodies.
Okay.
It's like that, okay? And when the person stops desiring the happiness of this world, and when that person desires to have relationship with Krishna, with the Supreme Lord, then that person once for all leaves this material world and goes for an eternal life, where he lives in the spiritual world with the Lord and his devotees. Then he never ever has to come back to this world.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay?
Prabhuji.
This is
Hare
again
Krishna.
this is also again explained in detail in the Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People Part 1. If you get a chance, you watch that. The subject matter is explained in detail there. Okay, Parth? Okay. Varuni, go ahead.
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask that I had a question which is not related to this, but I wanted to ask this from a very long time. That if the devtas have a position in this world, so if this is a position, that means they also have to die.
Yes, yes.
So if have the devtas drank the amrit, because amrit is in their supervision, and if they have drink it, then how can they be mortal, or how can they die then?
Yeah, so
Because that is only a position.
Amrit means that they would have a very long life. Amrit doesn't mean at the end of the creation they'll continue to live.
Okay.
For example, Varuni goes to this, what is it, Pawar Public School, right? Let's say tomorrow Pawar Public School doesn't exist only. The building collapsed.
Okay.
So would Varuni go to the school again? Pawar Public School is not there only. Similarly, when the creation does not exist, when the creation is completely destroyed, where would Devta live?
Okay.
So they are given a long life until the creation ends, which is otherwise not their duration to live.
Okay. And Prabhuji also had one more question, that is Kali Mata also a form of Lakshmi Devi?
So they all expand from Srimati Radharani to Lakshmi, and from Lakshmi, all the feminine forms of the Devis expand. Durga, Kali, Saraswati, everyone.
So Prabhuji, how can Shivji and Vishnuji have the same vibe? That means, you know, they are the forms of the same.
So Shivji is also expansion from Vishnu only, na?
Okay.
Shivji have not manifested from somewhere, because for everything, Vishnu is the source, Krishna is the source.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Mishti. Today afternoon only we had a Mishti Dahi in ashram. So Mishti, please go ahead. You have to.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have a question.
Yes.
So it's about so once in Bhagavad Gita it says once you go to Golok, then you can never fall down. So then, but then in the beginning, all of us were in Golok, but then how did we fall down?
A brilliant question, Mishti. How old are you?
I'm 11.
And am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is that Mishti? How do you pronounce?
Yes, Mishti.
Okay. You asked the most complicated question in the creation. And I'll give you the answer as our Param Guru gave, that is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, when you are drowning in a river or in an ocean, and when somebody comes to help you out, you don't ask that person at that point of time, who threw me in the ocean? Would you ask when you're drowning in the ocean? If somebody comes and gives you a hand to get you onto the boat, you don't ask that person, oh, first of all, tell me who threw me in the ocean. You get hold of the hand and you climb up the boat, and then you can think about asking who threw me in the ocean. So for in this context, as explained by our acharyas, somehow we had developed a desire to enjoy separately than the Lord. In other words, we became a little attractive to the material energy of the Lord. This is a little technical, but there are internal, external energy. So we became attracted towards this material energy of the material world. And when we became a little attracted to the material world, then we were given entry into this world. So because we have a free will to choose to serve the Lord or to choose to serve our own mind and senses. And when we chose to serve ourselves rather than serving the Lord, that's the time we were sent into this creation. And we can stop our existence in this creation if we can choose to serve the Lord.
Once we go again, can we again? And also, once we go again, then can we fall? So if we go again, can we fall down again?
Let me ask this question to you, Mishti. Have you ever been punished for any mistake?
Yes.
Did you repeat that mistake again?
No.
That's what. Once you recognize how horrible this material world is, once you go back, you would never ever want to come back, because you realize this was a serious mistake that I made by coming to this world.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. I have another question though. So if there's a tree, do the tree has a soul, right? But do the leaves have their own individual souls or not?
Interesting question. You're getting into more technical aspects of the discussion. So I'll repeat the question. Mishti have asked a thoughtful question. Tree, every living entity has a soul. Now, does the leaves of the tree have a soul? Let me ask this question back to you, Mishti. Mishti, you have a soul. Does your hands, the fingers, or the legs have a separate soul?
No.
So why would the branches or the leaves of the tree would have a separate soul? They are part and parcel of the same tree. It's the same structure.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mishti. Hare Krishna. Who else we have here? Nanda Krishna.
Prabhuji?
Louder.
Prabhuji? Am I
Yeah,
audible?
listening.
Am I
Little
audible?
bit. A little bit audible. Go ahead.
Prabhuji, if Shakuni wanted to destroy all the Kuru dynasty, then why did he fight against Pandavas? Why could he not fight against Kauravas?
Well, Pandavas would have never ever listened to Shakuni because they were intelligent, because they were pious. And Duryodhana was by default envious. So people like Shakuni would always find somebody who's insecure, who is fearful, and who is envious, because then he can fan the envy of Duryodhan and can make him inimical towards the Pandavas. Imagine, do you think Shakuni would have gone and spoken to Yudhishthira Maharaj and said that Yudhishthira Maharaj, you should destroy Duryodhan? Do you think Yudhishthira Maharaj would have ever heard to Shakuni? He had no chances to convince anyone except for Bhima. But trying to play around with Bhima was too risky. If in case Bhima ever became angry with Shakuni, he would have given such a tight slap to Shakuni, he probably would have never survived. So it was too risky to be around Pandavas. That's the reason he chose Duryodhan. Okay? Dhruva, let's come to you.
Prabhuji, related to this is related to parts question a little bit. So, what if all the good people in this material creation go back to the spiritual world, and in this material world only the sinful people are left? So, who will make the sinful people good so that they can go back to the spiritual world?
What's the last thing? If the sinful people remain back in the material world, then what?
Yes, then who will preach about Krishna consciousness to them?
Then at that point of time, Kalki Avatar will come and he will preach to them with his sword, and he will chop off the head of all sinful people and send them back to Godhead. So that is what the Kalki Avatar is supposed to do when he's going to come at the end of the creation, at the end of this Kali Yuga. Okay?
Prabhuji, but how will they go back to Godhead if Kalki Avatar kills them?
Well, it is not that there is only one life. They'll always take life again what they did. But as it is said, if somebody is killed by a lord, just like at the war of Kurukshetra, then that person is immediately liberated. They don't go back to Godhead, but they attain the what they call as Sayujya Mukti. They attain a Brahman, the impersonal liberation. And then they have a freedom to progress from there or to fall down again. Okay? Let's come to Shrivats. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask, Bhishma is the grandsire of both the Pandavas and Kauravas, but why didn't he stop the war from happening?
Oh, he's tried so much. Because he was not the king. He could not make the decision. He told Dhritarashtra so many times. We spoke today, right? How Bhishma chastised Dhritarashtra, Duryodhan, and that's the time he narrated the story of Narayan Rishi to everyone. But still Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan are not willing to change. Ultimately, he's not the king. He's also one of the subjects, so he has to follow whatever the king decides. But Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, Sanjay, Vidura, everyone tried their best. Okay? Who else do we have here? Panshul. Yes, I see you, Panshul. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
At
Okay,
the end.
so after this, Panshul, I'm going to come to, I see Chandrika having her hand up. Neil Madhav has his hand up. And then Abhay Charan will come to you in the end. Yes, Panshul.
Okay, so when it's the end of the creation, it doesn't go back to the beginning. So then what will Lord Krishna do then? Because then he'll be all alone. He won't have any devotees, any sinful people. He'll have nothing to do.
No, actually it is not Krishna who is sitting and doing creation. Krishna is always there in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. It is his expansion in the form of Vishnu, who we call as Karanaya Daksha Vishnu. It is he who does the creation. And when the creation ends, the creation goes into him. But Krishna is always there in Goloka Vrindavan, where he's always there along with his devotees. So Krishna is never ever alone. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Chandrika.
Prabhuji, you said that Shakuni hated the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Then why did he play the dice game and cheat the Pandavas? because he even hated the Kauravas, so he could.
He had to create a situation of a war, and that would have been the best situation by making one brother hate another brother. So through that dice game, he created such a situation between Pandavas and Kauravas that Duryodhana and Dushasan can never be forgiven by the Pandavas. You see that now? You see the picture? So that's what Shakuni wanted. Shakuni wanted that the brothers, Kauravas and Pandavas, should never ever come together. And through that dice game, he created such a rift or such a situation between those two that now they can never come together. All the Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted, but yet Shakuni would not allow Duryodhana to even give 5 villages to Pandavas. Okay?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So looks like all the questions are answered here. So I'm sorry, I mean, if you have typed in the message, I don't see the chat box. Oh, Neil Madhav had his hand up, right? Go ahead, Neil Madhav.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
I had a question, a similar question, that is Vishnu or Krishna same?
Yes, they are same. Just like a person at his home and person at his office is one but different in roles. A person at his home is in a very comfortable situation, but when the same person is in the office, he has a different environment, but the person is same. So Krishna and Vishnu are same, like Krishna is at home and Vishnu is performing a duty of creating, maintaining, and destroying the creation. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Abhay Charan, your last question for today.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, last end of the class we can do a small kirtan.
It's a wonderful thought, Abhay Charan Prabhu. Shall we do it tomorrow onwards?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna. All right, thank you everyone. Hare Krishna. Krishna willing, we'll meet tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.